Yo, yo, welcome back into another edition of Jake's Takes. I am your host, Jake Masucci, and today we got another episode of the show. Today I am breaking down the other two series. I'm going to go through Celtics and Knicks, and then we're going to talk about Golden State and Minnesota for a little bit, and then I bring in my guy, Matt Griffin, and we're going to talk about some NBA draft lottery stuff. I mean, unbelievable lottery. I posted that reel last night of with the Mavs getting Cooper Flag. I mean, it's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy that the Mavs ended up with Cooper Flag of anybody else. I mean, it's really sensational. But Matt and I talk about more of the other people. Like we discuss where everybody landed, what we think people will do, and then we talk about the prospects a lot. Because I really dove in on the college basketball season. We did a lot of March Madness talk on previous Jake's Takes episodes, and then Matt's really locking in on the draft people. So we kind of go through our boards and talk a little bit. I really get Matt's thoughts into his early thoughts on each of these players as we continue to watch film and continue to talk about this upcoming draft. But without further ado, I'm going to cue the music. All right. Welcome back into the show, and let's get right into it. We are going to be talking about the Celtics and the Knicks, and then we'll get to Warriors, Timberwolves a little bit. So let's talk about Celtics Knicks here. This has been a really interesting series. I mean, you start out the series, and the Knicks shock the world and have two 20-point comebacks in a row. I mean, this is just flat out insane. Like, you kind of went into it like, I watched the Knicks really intently in that Pistons series. I watched every single game. And the Pistons were in it. They were dogfighting them. It was like all over the place. The physicality on display in that series was unbelievable. I mean, unreal. It was crazy. And these two went back and forth over and over again. And the Celtics kind of controlled the game. They got off. They were ready to go. They were moving a little bit. Porzingis dealing with illness or whatever it was. He was in for like 13 minutes and then didn't play much after that. Wasn't great from him. But then you're looking at it, and really throughout the game, it was like the Knicks just couldn't get going offensively. Everything wasn't really moving for them. Tatum struggled in this one. He was shot 7 for 23 from the floor. And then Porzingis, of course, like I said, the 13 minutes, just he wasn't a factor throughout the whole game. Derrick White was hitting some threes, but the Celtics were cold. Like, it was cold. It was back and forth. It was two defensive teams going at each other. And you're like, man, who's going to get this game? Because the Celtics had control, but nobody was playing great. Like, even Jaylen Brown, he was 1 for 10 from 3, 7 for 20 from the floor. He wasn't playing great in this game. And then the person that took control was in the fourth quarter, and that was Jalen Brunson. He was just flat out sensational in the fourth quarter, dominating the game left and right, hitting shot after shot. 29 points, and some of the degree of difficulty of these shots were sensational. He hit 3 threes that were just unreal step backs, taking Al Horford off the dribble, taking so many different people off the dribble. They tried so many different things, and it just didn't matter. And looking at it from the Knicks' perspective, like, Brunson didn't shoot well in this game, but the main story was OG Anunoby. He was incredible in this game, 29 points, and he locked up Jason Tatum. It was all over Tatum. He has been a really tough matchup for Tatum throughout the series just because of his physicality. It's really gotten Tatum off his spot, and it hasn't been great for him. He's really been all over him. And I mean, that's kind of the story of game one. The Knicks just really with a sensational comeback and ended up winning this game in overtime 108-105. And in overtime, I mean, they just kind of controlled it. The one shot Brunson missed in game one was a easy floater that he was like shocked that he missed in the fourth quarter. That was kind of funny in that one. But then you move over to Wednesday, and it's like there is no way this can happen to Boston again. Again, Boston in control, again, they're not shooting the greatest. They were 10 for 40 from 3, really not your best thing. But Derrick White's playing okay. Jaylen Brown, another struggle fest shooting the ball. But Jason Tatum was non-existent again in this game. He only had 13 points. He was rebounded. He was passing the ball a little bit. But defensively, he wasn't really engaged. He wasn't doing much. Pritchard showed some stuff off the bench, but again, nothing crazy. And then Porzingis again, like he just didn't look the same. And Horford struggled a little bit starting in this one. And the Knicks just kind of took over late. Karl Anthony Towns with an unbelievable game. The Celtics did a really good job of taking away his three-point shot. He wasn't shooting many threes at all. In fact, in the first two games, I believe he only took 1 3, which is crazy. That's a crazy stat to have. And you're looking at it, and you're the Knicks. You're down a little bit, and it looks like the game's turning away. Everybody's not playing great. And then Mikal Bridges comes into the fourth quarter and dominates. He was sensational defensively, started hitting shots offensively, really started getting stuff back into it. And I haven't even talked about Josh Hart yet. Josh Hart is incredible. I mean, absolute stud. In this game, he had 23 points, led them in scoring, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Whenever, like, you don't pay attention to him, because he can't shoot, so you shouldn't really pay attention to him too much, he automatically, like, cuts and creates just great plays. He's one of those winning players that every coach just dreams of having on their team. He is flat out sensational and had an unbelievable game in this one. But then it was the Jalen Brunson show again near the end of the game. He struggled shooting the ball to begin the game, and then he comes in the fourth quarter and again hits clutch shot after clutch shot after clutch shot and was just sensational. Just watching the Knicks do this, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is hilarious. Because, I mean, I'm looking at it, I'm trying to be an honest Piston fan here, and I don't think we beat the Celtics. The Celtics are not a great matchup for us. But if you're looking at the Knicks, they're a great matchup for them. And the Pistons unlock their physicality. I think it was Josh Hart that said in a post-game interview, he was like, thank God for the Pistons, because we would not have won these first 2 games without them. And, the Knicks really outstanding there with another win. And going up 2-0, it's just like, man, like the Knicks probably will win this series. And the Celtics did a great job coming back after 2 days of rest. They really dominated Game 3, and it wasn't even really close. Like, I rewatched it the other day, and I was like, is there anything I want to take from this game? And to be honest, when I was doing notes, I was like, no. I mean, the Celtics just dominated from the start. They were hitting 3 after 3. Jason Tatum finally came back and played better. Was 5 of 9 from 3. And then you're looking at it, Derrick White was hitting his threes. They were all over the place. 20 for 40 from 3. That's a fantastic stat line. And the Knicks just didn't have enough. Brunson with 27. Karl Anthony Towns is having a fantastic series, rebounding the ball and scoring the ball. He struggled shooting in this game, 5 of 18. But overall, like, if I was the Knicks, like, you're not crazy concerned. This is the game that Boston needed to have. It was all on Boston. You just got to get one of these. And yesterday's game was awesome. Flat out awesome. A 121-113 win for the Knicks. And this was the game the Knicks played their best and were awesome. And the Celtics, really with a dominant performance by Jason Tatum to keep them in this game. To be honest, I think it was Tatum's best performance. And sadly, it's going to end with him getting injured and possibly with an Achilles injury, which is flat out awful. It's terrible. But he had 42 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and it was easily the best basketball I've seen Jason Tatum play in a playoff game. He was sensational. There's been a couple games where you're like, wow, this game, it was just jaw-dropping. It was incredible. And then Derrick White was hitting his threes. He was 6 of 11 from 3. Jaylen Brown, 20 points. He really didn't play well, was in foul trouble most of the game, had 5 fouls that kept him out a lot in the fourth quarter. Payton Pritchard came off the bench scoring a little bit. He really impressed me throughout the series. I mean, I'm talking about the series is over because it seems over because Tatum's done. But he's been scoring. I mean, I was like, why did this guy win 6th man of the year? But he defends his butt off. He makes it hard on Brunson. He does his job. He does what he has to do. And it's really impressive to me. I've liked what I've seen from Pritchard overall. And then looking at the Knicks here, it was just a Brunson show. 39 points, 5 rebounds, 12 assists, 1 turnover. Moment of silence there because that is just crazy. Crazy. Really sensational performance from him. Karl Anthony Towns, another monster performance, 11 of 15 from the floor, 23 points, 11 rebounds. OG, 20 points. Mikal Bridges, 23 points. You knew that there was a game in this series where it was just like the Knicks are going to play their best game of the series. And this was it. They played their best game of the series, and they got the job done. And, just overwhelming Jason Tatum. That was just too much for him. And, the Celtics, they just needed more guys to step up. Derrick White hit some threes for them to help them stay in it. Tatum was awesome with the 42. But it's just horrible. Like, thinking about the Celtics, and Matt talks about it later when we talk about lottery stuff in this podcast. But like looking at the Celtics, it's going to be a whole new team next year. It's going to be a whole new team. They don't have enough cap to keep everybody on the roster. You think like they might trade Jaylen Brown, they might do something with Drew Holiday. It just seems like things are going to change, and Tatum might be done for next year too if it's an Achilles. So just prayers up for Jason Tatum because he's a stud of a basketball player. I'm happy he finally showed it in Game 4, like how awesome he truly is at basketball, and it's sad to see him go down with an Achilles injury. That's tough. So looking at this series, I feel like the Knicks are just going to shut it down in Game 5, win it, and it's going to be done. And you're going to get a New York, Indiana, Eastern Conference Finals, and I think it's just going to be fun. Like, I'm really excited for a fun series of, like, elite playmaking, scoring, defense, all of it. I think it's going to be so much fun to watch, and I'm really, really looking forward to hopefully getting that series. Okay, let's move to the West. I want to talk about the Timberwolves-Warriors series. This one I haven't paid attention to as much as the other ones because Steph Curry going out in Game 1 really kind of blew the series for me. Like, it's not as fun to talk about, so we'll be quick on this one. But no Steph means no Golden State offense. That's kind of just what it means. Like, there's nothing they can do to really score the ball. They had a sensational Game 3, and that's kind of what I'll talk about here on Saturday, where they stayed in it and were scoring the ball. Like, Jimmy showed up for that one, but Jimmy hurt his tailbone in the first round, so he's not the same Jimmy Butler that we're accustomed to seeing. He had 33 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists in this Game 3 that I'm talking about. Kuminga came off the bench and had 30 points. And the fact that the Warriors still lost this game, like they needed that game in order to have any chance to win the series. And, if you're looking at Minnesota, they have just figured something out. Julius Randle has been awesome in this series. I mean, triple-double in Game 3. He's had 25 and 5 in at least every game. And it's been sensational. He's been efficient. This is the best Julius Randle I think we've ever gotten. He's really leading to playoff wins, and he's been just awesome. Mike Conley has looked really good defensively, which is new. In the regular season, he was really struggling on that end. So Mike Conley, credit to him, looking pretty good. Anthony Edwards looks awesome. I didn't really talk about on this podcast much from round 1, but he's doing a great job from round 1, which is keeping his dribble alive and like making sure like he doesn't lose his dribble. There was a lot of times last year, like especially in that Mavs series, where he'd pick up his dribble too early and then be stuck and wouldn't know what to do. This time, he's really keeping his dribble. He's keeping things alive. He's keeping the play moving, making the right decision, and his playmaking has been sensational. That was kind of the main reason why they beat the Lakers, because of Anthony Edwards getting better as a playmaker. And now you're looking at this series, like his scoring has just been off the charts. His pull-up threes have been sensational. He's really gotten so much better on that end. You got so much talent if you're the Timberwolves. Like, they're finally figuring it out. Like, let's look at the 8 guys that play. Okay, Randall is playing at the best he's played. Like, this is the most playoff, like the best playoff version of Julius Randle that we've ever gotten, which is sensational. Jaden McDaniels is playing unbelievable defense, is super physical with everybody, and is just like, I do not want to see this Jaden McDaniels because he's all over the place. He's long, he's physical, he's gotten into Jimmy Butler throughout the whole series, and it's been great. Rudy Gobert is rebounding again, scoring at a decent clip. I mean, the fact that he had like 24 and 27 in game 5 in that Lakers series, like, that's crazy. He's playing pretty well. He's doing a great job rim protecting, and he's there for them. He's been great. Mike Conley, we talked about him being older, and he's still doing all this. Anthony Edwards, we talked about. Naz Reid, you're looking at the bench. He comes in 25 minutes, can give you a stretch presence, can rebound. Dante DiVincenzo, another stud defender, can shoot the ball for them, really helps them. And then Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who was a guy that came off the bench for him last year and was really impressive. This Minnesota team's scary. I think if they're playing OKC or Denver in the next round, they're really going to give them a tough matchup. And it'll be a run for their money, whoever they play. I mean, they're really sensational. If I'm looking at Golden State, quick Golden State thoughts, tough way to end the year. if Steph stays healthy, you never know because Steph really changes everything. He's so unbelievably gifted on the offensive end and causes so much gravity and so much confusion for defenses. So, looking at Steph, it's tough that he's out. Draymond's awesome defensively. Jimmy Butler was a great get for you guys. You got to go all in on next season again. And now everybody's a year older. So it's just tough. Golden State's in a tough position where they got an old team. They're trying to win now. And it's a tough way to go out with injury.
Welcome, everybody, to the JOMO Show, your home for Oakland sports and beyond from WXOU. My name is Giovanni Mosheri, and I am the host of the one and only show that covers the Oakland University Golden Grizzlies each and every week. Subscribe to the JOMO Show for weekly interviews with athletes and coaches, for a recap of the week's action at OU, and whatever else is going on in the sports world. You can tune in on 88.3 FM, WXOU, or wherever you get your podcasts each week. Go Golden Grizzlies on the JOMO Show.
All right. Welcome back. I got back on my guy. I got Matt Griffin with me here. A lot of NBA playoff action. We've been talking about it a little bit on Jake's Takes. I'm finally getting back in the zone watching NBA playoffs. And then we get the lottery, and I'm like, man, this is super exciting. Like, what's going to happen? And then the wildest thing happens ever. So, Matt, how are we doing? And Jesus, I'm shocked what's going on right now with the lottery.
Yeah, I'm good, Jake. Man, it's I know that we got a lot to get to, but I feel like you can just start. I feel like last night was one of the bigger NBA nights period that we've had in a long time. Like even, obviously the Luka trade was huge. Every trade deadline's huge, stuff like that. But I think just last night. I think obviously the Mavericks getting the first overall pick after the year that they had is one of the biggest stories that we've had all year. 2, the Spurs getting the number 2 pick after the season that they had and the picks that they've accrued over the last 2 seasons. Now they've got back-to-back Rookie of the Years. Obviously, Victor. Who even cares about the second Rookie of the Year? They have Victor Wembanyama, and now they score the second overall pick, and they might not even make that pick because now this gives them at least some sort of package to offer the Milwaukee Bucks for Giannis if the Bucks do go down that route. And, the number 2 pick and having Steph Castle, that kind of gives you a leg up on a lot of the other teams that are going to try to make offers. So that is obviously nuts, just like the downfall of that. And then also on top of that, the Knicks go up 3-1 on the Celtics. I mean, they were massive underdogs heading into this series, so that's a story in and of itself. But then also, Jason Tatum probably tore his Achilles last night, which is, just a massive tragedy. He is at kind of the peak of his basketball powers, right? I feel like we've never seen a better Jason Tatum than we've seen over the last year. And who knows if he'll ever be the same or if he'll ever even approach this level again. Obviously, we all hope that he does, but that's probably the last that we've ever seen of this iteration of the Celtics, because they're going to enter the repeater tax. They're going to trade Jaylen Brown or Drew Holiday or somebody to get under that second apron is my assumption heading into this offseason. So we'll never see this iteration of the Celtics again. Giannis is probably on the move now. It seems like perhaps to play with Wemby. Cooper Flag is going to Dallas. They've given the Lakers their franchise, and they've just acquired another franchise. Essentially, it was a wild day in the NBA world.
Yeah, literally, I'm watching the lottery, and I'm watching this happen, and I'm watching the top 4 go, and I'm like, Jesus, the Jazz and the Wizards, you guys tanked all year,
God,
and then you just fall out of it. It's brutal.
The Jazz are just they have picks, to be clear. So, you can say that they'll get out of whatever they're in right now, or they could get out of whatever they're in. Man, I don't think that they have a young player who's worth a damn, And, they've just been losing and losing for years. They have no, who's their best prospect, Jake? Kyle Filipowski, probably? That's not really a good spot to be in, I like Bryce Sensabaugh. I'm still a Bryce Sensabaugh guy. Shot 39%
I don't mind Collier
either,
but
yeah. Collier had an interesting season, but there's definitely a world where Collier's not an NBA player. As much as I liked him heading into last draft, and he showed why that was, but he's still a unathletic guy that can't shoot at all. Unathletic is the wrong word. Not a defender. Also,
yeah.
So like I don't know, and yeah, like you said, they just fell out of the top five. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
They're in a bad spot. A lot of teams are in a bad spot after yesterday. I'll say.
Yeah, like you feel for those teams. And then you see it's the 76ers in the top 3. You see it's the Spurs
top
who
three
get lottery
is playoff teams, maybe. Like if
exactly.
they didn't get hurt, they all might
exactly.
Make the
They're playoff teams. Like going into the year, we're looking at the 76ers as like a legit contender in the Eastern Conference. And then you look at it, you're like, oh, it's the Mavs who literally made the finals the year before. Like which is nuts to think about. And then you got the Spurs who have Victor Wembanyama and De'Aaron Fox. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is this even real? And then the Mavs get the first overall pick. And I'm like, I've never done this before, but I'm going to just go record a reel. Like, I don't want to record a whole episode. I'm just going to sit down and record a reel talking about it. And I'm just like, and I don't like doing that. But I'm like, all right, I got to do that. And it was just crazy. Absolutely crazy. I mean, I still can't get over it. Like, the Mavs going to get Cooper Flag probably. I mean, I think I saw a report today that there's no way they're trading that pick at all. And then, yeah, which is the right thing to do, of course. And then we're looking at it. There's so many other storylines in this lottery that I want to get into. So when you were watching it, other than the Cooper Flag to Dallas, what were kind of the things that stood out to you from this lottery?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Spurs getting number 2 is the other one, and the connection with Giannis that I touched on already. Yeah. But I think the Sixers jumping up that much because, well, one, they might have lost their pick. In fact, during the thing, Kevin Nagandi goes, they just lost their pick. And I was like, no, they could still be in the top 4. So I got one up on Kevin Nagandi right there. But they get their pick back, which is obviously super important for them. They tanked very hard this season after it kind of went off the rails about halfway through. But they sit at pick 3. I don't think Daryl Morey, I know we're not talking prospects quite yet, but I don't think Daryl Morey is going to draft Ace Bailey. I just really don't.
Yeah.
They're only like players with like, if you're looking to the Sixers' future outlook, which I think is what you have to do, I don't think you can like kind of figure Joel Embiid and Paul George into the mix if you're the Sixers anymore. I think that's just kind of over, unfortunately. Quinn Grimes, Jared McCain, and Tyrese Maxey are the young players they have that matter, and they're all guards. And I don't know. It just kind of opens like that's almost the weirdest spot for the Sixers to me when like you think about kind of who's on the board and what they might want to take.
Yeah, because if you're looking at other people like on the board in that spot, it's Edgecombe. But Edgecomb's like he's a little smaller. 6'5". He's 6'5". Like he's got length. I mean, he probably could play that 3 spot. But
like, he is kind of a wing. So like I get that, but again, like your guards are already small. You know, like now you've got 3 positions filled by guys who are small, not just
that's
small,
where it's
small
worrisome,
for their position.
You know?
Yeah. Right. And so like, I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird draft. I think Charlotte's in a little bit of a weird spot. I think like, I don't know. I'll say again to the Ace Bailey point, like if Ace Bailey goes to Charlotte, I'm like, that's going to fail. Like that is not going to work. My initial like just knee-jerk reaction. There's no way that works out for either party, I think. So I don't know. Yeah, crazy lottery, crazy day.
Yeah, no, really crazy lottery. I think the only thing that we didn't cover with those top 3, I mean, I just want to talk about the Wizards dropping. Like the Wizards can't get anything, man. I feel like a lot of people and a lot of stuff I've been listening to, I've been talking about like they're starting to compete, they're starting to hit their spots. Like Sarr's doing okay, you know, you got Bud Carrington and stuff, and them dropping to 6. Like, that's tough. They were one of the teams where I was like, man, if they get Cooper Flag, like, that'd be kind of cool. You know, bring Washington back.
You feel like they need a guy.
Exactly. Yeah.
They need a guy, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't mean to cut you off if you got more to say, but, like, all of their young players right now, they do have, like, a batch of interesting young players, no doubt. I liked Sarr quite a bit going into the draft. I would say slightly lower on him after his rookie year, but that's not to say he still can't be what I thought he could be. I just like he's really, really bad at like the big man stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's sick that he can switch onto the perimeter the way that he can. It's sick that he has the ball skills and the mobility that he does at 7'1", and obviously it's awesome that he might be able to shoot, but he can't like catch the like he can't roll to the rim, he can't rebound, he can't finish around the rim. He's just
can't do your normal
like,
big guy stuff.
He's
which
horrible
is tough.
at it, really. Yeah. So like, you know, that I don't know. It's cool that he's there. Like I look at a guy like Derrick Queen, right, who feels like a dude where it's like he probably needs like kind of a specific team context to like get the best out of him because he does have so many limitations. And it's like, I mean, he kind of does, or like Alex Sarr does the stuff that you want a guy to complement Derrick Queen with. And Derrick Queen has some of that star upside, I think, if you do put him in that situation. So I don't know, maybe that's a good fit for them. Like, and if they were in the top, like they seem like a really good Derrick Queen fit. I don't know how many teams are, but they are. And I think like maybe that's a good match. Them dropping to 6 might be a little bit of a, a blessing in disguise in that sense. But also like, I love Derrick Queen. He's my favorite player in the draft from a watching perspective, just from like I'm going to root for this guy for his entire career perspective. I don't think he's one of the 6 best prospects, though. So, like, I don't know. Like, are the Wizards in a position to not just take the best prospect available? Probably.
Yeah. No, that's completely fair. And if you're looking at Washington, like, it's probably going to be big guys. So, like, when I was looking at it, it'd be like, okay, would it be Queen or would it be Malawatch? Like, because I think Malawatch has just as much upside. He can really protect the rim.
I think he's a better prospect pound for pound.
Yeah, like pound for pound, like I think probably a better prospect. But then when you're looking at it, like Derrick Queen, like carried that Maryland team. He was awesome in the tournament. He has the game-winning shot in the second round against Colorado State. Like he has all that in his bag, and he was awesome throughout the tournament. So I'm looking at these two, and those would probably be like who you're putting against each other. Do you like Queen more than Malawatch, or like who would you like in that situation? I'm curious.
Man, for the Wizards, that is tough. I think you're right. Both of them probably fit because Sarr can play with both of them. Or maybe it's even more like you should say Sarr has to play with a guy, another big. For them, though, I don't know. Like, it's probably going against what, like, I really would say, like, is kind of my philosophy if I were in the Wizards spot. But I think I would take Queen just because I do think, like, you're right. Malawatch does have, like, crazy upside in his own way, like as a rim running 5, he might be able to shoot. Like he showed a little bit of ball skills before he got to college. Obviously Duke didn't need him to do any of that at all, so we didn't really see it. We saw him sprinkling some threes towards the end of the season, but like that was kind of like a big selling point of his when he was like in the NBA Africa program, and even when he was like playing with South Sudan in the Olympics, was like, this guy's 7'2", massive, can move and can shoot a little bit, and he's super raw, new to basketball. But like, I think I would take Queen for them because, one, I think Queen can play right away and like do what he's good at, which I think helps the Wizards just as they kind of try to build this entire core that they have. Like, they just need some more players who can dribble, like they just need more players who can put it on the deck a little bit. They just need more players who can create their own, and hopefully, the creation for others continues to grow for Queen. So I think if I'm the Wizards, I'm putting Derrick Queen in my context. I think like that's kind of a cool fit for both of them. Might be a little bit of a reach for sure, but I'll also say like there's something to be said for. I think that like there's no way Derrick Queen goes to the league. I think, and he just like can't like score. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that there's any way that he goes to the league and he like can't do what he does. Now, can he go to the league and that stuff and like his defensive limitations and maybe his inability to shoot threes like get in the way of him being an actually like valuable player long term or like making an impact in the playoffs? That definitely could happen, but guys like that still like can get traded for a good player and good assets. I don't know. I think I'd roll the dice on Queen if I were the Wizards, knowing what I know right now. Between those two, I mean,
I think it's a really interesting conversation just because like so many people are high on Malawatch. There's multiple things that Malawatch can do. I love his playmaking ability. Like that's something
it's underrated. We're talking about it.
Yeah, very underrated.
He has flashes of like, is this guy like a genius?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing where I just kind of fall in love with. Like, playmaking is one of those blind spots that I have because I just absolutely love it. And that's part of the reason to me, like, I'm higher on Malawatch, but I love hearing your thoughts on Queen because I haven't dig deep into the draft thing on Queen yet. But from what I've watched on him, it's just been like, defensively, he's not really there. Offensively,
it's not. I mean,
really
he's a horrible vertical athlete. Horrible.
Exactly.
Like, he's not protect the rim in the NBA. So I think he's a 4 personally. Like I think he's more in, early in the season especially. I think that there's a reason that they played Reese with him all the time. I'll say also. So like,
gotcha.
I think early in the season, like the first couple times you watch Derrick Queen, and I remember even going back to like some high school All-Star game I watched Reese playing. It's like this guy's kind of in like the Jokic Şengün lineage a little bit. Obviously, I mean, Jokic is Jokic and Şengün, but like a little bit more back to the basket, slower, like crafty 5. I actually think it's more like he's kind of in like the Paolo Julius Randle like bully forward. Like
Okay.
he can drive the ball. I think defensively he's more of a 4 than a 5 because I think he moves his feet better than he protects the rim. He's not Bam Adebayo in either sense of the word, by any stretch, but I do like trust him to hold up against like big wings, big forwards more than I trust him to execute drop coverage or something like that. So I think he's more of a 4 that you hope ends up putting together a jump shot like a little bit so that he can play with another big, because I think he's going to have to play with another big, unless you've got some really like unique wings and stuff like that. So I don't know. That's just kind of how I'm gauging him. I think everybody looks at him as a 5. I look at him as a 4, like a big 4, power 4.
I like that. You're talking me more into him than I was, because he was on like my dislike list because I didn't love him, but I'm starting to see it a little bit with him. But I think Malawatch Queen is a really interesting conversation at 6 just because of the big. I think another interesting conversation is at 3 when you're looking at Edgecombe versus Bailey. And, it's for 76ers, we kind of talked about how it'd probably be Edgecombe more. But if you're looking at him as a prospect, who do you like more?
I am off the Ace Bailey wagon completely, essentially. He's outside of my lottery, in fact. I would like
wow.
He is.
Gotcha.
I don't like comparing him to Edgecombe. Okay, so number one. So let's talk about Rutgers real quick, right? So like everybody is like, it was a horrible context. And I agree. When we talk about Dylan Harper, I'll probably say like, okay, yeah, to be clear, Dylan Harper was in a bad context. He was still able to get to the rim the way that he was and finish and be as productive. That's all great. The bad context to me, like, kind of is Ace Bailey. Like, he doesn't function in any sort of role player way. And on top of that, he can't dribble. And those two things do not meet together at all. Yeah. So you've got a guy who is very like star-brained, and that can be tweaked. Don't get me wrong. There totally is a world, I think, where Ace Bailey is like a very productive wing. He's big, he's athletic, he's pretty long, he can shoot. Like those guys just have NBA careers. I'm not going that far, but there's also like the discussion around Ace Bailey is around him is like the star upside guy. I think that is just a misevaluation of what makes somebody a star. Being a star is a guy that you can rely on with the ball a lot, a guy who can create for himself, a guy who you rely on to create for others. Ace Bailey is among the worst passers I've ever seen, basically at any level of basketball. And like that's
it's really
honest.
bad.
He got better.
When you watch the film, it's really bad.
Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, the first like 4 games of the season, I'm pretty sure he had 0 assists. He had like a 0.3 assist to turnover ratio for most of the year. Now, like back half of conference play, it started to look quite a bit better, which like does make me feel good because it does feel like that's a little bit of like a mental thing that you can tweak like relatively quickly. But I mean, he's a guy who I think will probably need a pretty good context. I don't doubt that he is a talented forward, but I just don't buy like the star upside stuff. And I think everybody agrees that he has a low floor, right? Like I think like even the people who like Ace Bailey see a little bit of that. And it's like, okay, so if you're me and you think that his ceiling is really like third option, like a different sort of iteration of Michael Porter Jr. is like the ceiling, which is kind of what I think. And the floor is a guy who is just bad because that is the floor. Like there's not a ton that separates him from Kevin Knox if you really like look at the numbers next to each other. It is true. I just don't think that he's that awesome of a prospect. But his name is sweet.
His name is sweet. But I'm in flat out agreement. I sat down and I did a scouting report on Cooper Flagg where like I dove deep into the film and stuff and like went film, and I did it for the podcast. And then my next guy was Ace Bailey, and I started doing that. I started editing film, and I was like, if I'm going to just say negative things about him, I don't want to put this on the podcast.
That is kind of, I think that's fair. Like, there's not a ton of great things to say. He's a sick shot maker, and he's big. Well, he's not even that big. He's 6'7.5". He's not that big. He's a sick shot maker, and he's athletic, and, like, that's cool. I don't know how much I love, like, oh, so you're sick at mid-range pull-ups? Like, sweet. I don't know what really I'm going to do with that.
Yeah, no, there's not much really else to say about him there. But let's talk about Edgecombe, because that's somebody that he's next on my list to watch more film on. So I want to get your thoughts on Edgecombe.
Yeah, he's I think he's really, really good. I think he is a guy. Well, so first he measured at 6'5" at the combine, which is awesome. That's taller than I thought he was going to measure for sure. Because he was listed at 6'3" throughout the year, and even watching, I was like, yeah, that seems about right.
Yeah.
It wasn't, which is great. Great news. Obviously, just a monster athlete, which, it takes 10 seconds to watch him and see that. I saw somebody call him the third Thompson twin. I wouldn't go that far, but I do think he is like a top 5% NBA athlete. Like, he will spend a lot of his time as the best athlete on the floor.
Speaking of the Thompson twins, you were dead on them on this podcast. I just wanted to mention that.
Oh, yes, I was. Thank you for bringing that up.
No, I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, I appreciate it. But he is such a good athlete. He's a monster defensive player, which obviously we love. He creates turnovers at a very high level. He blocks shots. He's kind of a hound at the point of attack. I think that's just going to continue to grow as he gets older. I think that you'll see moments where it's okay, he's a little bit passive on defense. I don't know. I saw that stuff with the Thompsons too, out of Overtime Elite, which might have been a little bit of they're just bored of playing all these people.
No, I noticed that in March Madness. Yeah, that's a good call there. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that there's no question about his capability on that end. And it does seem like just throughout the year, he's up for that challenge. He wants to play defense. Obviously a monster in transition, which is kind of a given with his athleticism. But the questions for me, well, one, I should also say, I think Edgecombe can shoot. I don't really have doubts about the jumper. He shot it really well before the NCAA. We have a massive, across high school and college, we have a massive number of free throws, and he is a very good free throw shooter. So that's always kind of the best indicator of who's the guy that will be able to shoot threes better at the next level. He clearly, I like his form. I think he's smooth as he's taking catch and shoot jumpers. So I buy that. There's the clear makings of an awesome kind of two guard, at his worst kind of being a KCP type, but with crazy athleticism. I think his handle is the thing that kind of holds me back from saying he has crazy upside. And also that, I don't know, he's just not super comfortable as a ball handler right now, in pick and roll. I don't think he used it super well to get downhill. And weirdly enough, for being a pretty decent shooter and a great athlete, and obviously the free throw shooting, the touch kind of displayed there, doesn't have very good touch around the rim at all. You look at the non-dunk, his field goal percentage on layups in the half court is 43%, which is abysmal. Now, part of me says, okay, a piece of that is that he's not a very good finisher when he's not dunking the ball. Probably true. Another part of me says that, okay, if it's not a dunk, it was probably an extremely difficult attempt. Because anything that's easy at all, he's going to be able to dunk. So I don't know. I guess take that number with a grain of salt, but it is one that stuck out.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I like that. Edgecombe is interesting for me because right away when you look at him body wise and everything, you're oh, that's an NBA player, and it's pretty clear with the athleticism and all the stuff he has. I need to watch more film on him, so I'm excited to watch a little more there. I got one more question for you on boards, but if we're talking players that we haven't talked about yet, and we can exclude Cooper Flagg because he's in his own category and we don't have to talk about him on this podcast. But if there's one more person that you either love or hate and want to talk about him, who would you pick as the one guy?
I'm not going to pick somebody I hate. But no, when the lottery happened and Charlotte picks up 4, I have a vested interest in Charlotte because I'm a bit of a LaMelo fanboy. I'm a 14-year-old.
Hey, I agree.
Yeah, he's awesome. And I want to see him. I want him to have a chance to be good. And obviously the Hornets need to be okay for that to happen.
Yeah.
At 4, he's not a guy that the consensus boards, or maybe not the consensus boards, but Jonathan Gavoni, the Sam Vicinis, the guys who are producing boards with intel, this is what I think is going to happen type boards. Colin Murray Boyles is oftentimes down those boards a little bit more. I think Charlotte should pick him at 4, home run to me. I think that he brings everything that team desperately needs. I think having a handoff partner with LaMelo, I think you need one of those. I don't know. I don't love that part of Mark Williams' game. Obviously, he's good around the rim, which is great, and he's huge and rebounds and stuff. But I think having a two-man game sort of partner with LaMelo would benefit both guys greatly. Murray Boyle is one of the best defenders in this class to me. I think he's a guy who is I think he measured at 6'6.5". His measurables are like Draymond's essentially exactly. He's a little
6'7".
bit. He's he's a touch taller. I want to say he's a touch longer, but his measurables are really similar to Draymond, so he's that size. But Murray Boyles has a couple Draymond similarities. I'll never compare a guy to Draymond straight up, but he has a couple of Draymond similarities. One, he has like the defensive instinct thing where it feels like he's putting out fires before they happen. Like that is something that Colin Murray Boyles does that is super rare, I think, for a guy his age. He was a sophomore, but he was a super young sophomore, you know? So like he's the same age as a lot of the freshmen coming out this year. Like him and Knipple, I think, are basically the exact same.
Yeah.
And Edgecombe. So like he has that, which is crazy. He's a very smart player. He was on a terrible South Carolina team. They were absolutely horrible. But like when he was off the floor, they were like way worse still. You know what I mean? Like he had the Jokic on off thing. And
the funny thing about South Carolina, I talked about him with the college podcast, and I was saying, like, to show you how good the SEC was, South Carolina was 10-3 going into SEC play.
Yes.
And then they finished like 0-17 in SEC.
Right. Yeah, right. So like that's a good way to put it. Like he was the only good player in like the best conference ever, which I think like SEC players, you got to keep a little chip in your like. I got to remind myself, hey, Jeremiah Fears is like barely 18 in the best conference that's ever existed. Like that's a tough spot to be in. So, but to the Murray Boyles point, like, yes, he was their only good player, and they lost a lot of games because of it. I don't put that on him at all. Who did he have 38 against? God, I just watched this game. I don't know, but it was the best. It was like the best prospect game from anybody not named Cooper Flagg, and this like the most impressive game from anybody not named Cooper Flagg, in this entire cycle that I've seen. He is like I think that there's a world where he is like, this is kind of a crazy one, but like he doesn't shoot jump shots. I feel like I should have let everything off with. He is 6'7" and doesn't shoot jump shots. That's bad, but he has like good free throw indicators. He's got sick touch around the rim. Like there are people that hold out hope. I don't know. But he's a great driver of the basketball is the other thing that I think is important. Like he is explosive as hell. He's strong as hell. He has great touch around the rim, and he has a fantastic handle for a guy who's playing like the 4 and maybe small ball 5. So like that gives him a weapon on offense, a way that a lot of the other sort of defensive-centric forwards don't have. And when you combine that with being a guy who can just kind of flow into handoffs and do so really well on a team with like movement shooters like LaMelo, like Brandon Miller, like guys that can get him up, I think that that's kind of a match made in heaven. The Hornets cannot afford to draft anybody else who doesn't play defense and isn't a smart basketball player. I think both of those things, Colin Murray Boyles fits really well. And they need a guy that can get to the rim, and Colin Murray Boyles does that. Like if he has some like Julius Randle stuff to him. So like I think that if you kind of put all of that in a hat and you see what comes out, like his fit with the Hornets makes a ton of sense to me. If I'm them, I'm kind of racing that card up.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good decision. Like having he could be a small ball 5 for sure.
Yeah.
You know, like and move the ball and defensively, like if he's anywhere near Draymond, like imagine.
Yeah, I'm not saying
like,
Draymond's like the best defender I've ever seen.
I know.
I'm not
so
joking,
like if
but
he's anywhere even close, like that's crazy. You know?
Right. Totally.
Yeah, and having that passing on the high post is just so valuable. And that's part of the reason we were talking about Malawatch earlier, and that's why I like him, you know? Like having guys that are smart like that, they can end up developing jump shots a little bit. I mean, even Draymond has developed a jump shot, and free throw indicators are very important with that as well. So he's a guy I'm interested in. That's actually a really good find there. He might be someone that skyrockets up boards near the future, you know, which would be interesting.
Yeah, I think like he's a guy I don't know, as the thing gets closer, because he was kind of tossed aside like throughout the college basketball season, just because like you said, South Carolina wasn't winning any games, and you know they weren't touching the tourney, so you know who cares, right? Who really cared to watch them a whole lot? But I think as we get closer and people do pay more attention, or you know, kind of look through their spreadsheets. I think Colin Murray Boyles pops up in the spreadsheet. You know what I mean? And like you watch his film, and it's like there is a lot here. He can't shoot, and he's 6'7", which is always a little bit of a problem. But he's so good at so many other things.
I like it. All right. Last thing before we go, but I wanted to talk a little bit. I want to just give you the floor for the NBA playoffs. You know, we've seen so much. We've seen so much happen. So talk to me about what you've seen from the playoffs and what you want to get out so far.
What I've seen from the playoffs, what I want to get out so far. Yeah. I think a couple like grand takeaways. Well, one, I mean, I think like, you know, the pace slows down in the playoffs has never been more true than it is this year. That's a notable one.
It's awesome.
I think the talking point of the game gets more physical in the playoffs has never been as true as it has been this year. I feel like it almost feels like a war of attrition at this point, like a blood sport, just who can kind of stay healthy, who can stay right, and be as close to 100% as possible. I still like the Thunder to win the whole thing. I think that the Pacers are going to come out of the East. And I guess those are the big takeaways. I mean, dude, I guess the biggest takeaway is that the basketball has been so great, man. Like, these teams are so good. The games have been so good. The stars have been bad, but, like,
yeah,
I can't lie. Like, I'm watching these games, and I'm watching kind of, like, what the coaches are doing defensively. And, like, I feel like having a good defensive coach in the NBA now is like getting a McVay or Shanahan guy in the NFL. Like, you need a guy who can... I think you need a guy who can scheme up against a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a guy who can like kind of like throw these weird sort of matchup zones and stuff.
The
like
zones Adelman's throwing at him are ridiculous. It's crazy.
It is. And I mean, Dallas did similar stuff last year, but he just made shots, and this year the shots aren't falling as much. So like, I don't know. There's just so much zone and so many. I don't know. It's been crazy to watch. Like, it just does feel like a completely different level of basketball. And obviously, these are already, you know, the best basketball players in the world, night in, night out. But it's becoming more like football almost, where it's like you need like defensive schemes and like defensive plays essentially to counteract what the offense is doing. I've loved watching the chess match of it. I feel like that's never been more important or more apparent to me. And it's been sick watching, you know, the shot making that's been happening. A lot of games have been close. It's been a lot of mud ball, which I also like. Like, it's been sick, man. The playoffs have been as entertaining as ever, I feel.
Yeah. No, I'm in 100% agreement. It's been a lot of fun. And I can't wait for more, dude. I mean, I'll definitely have you on when the finals are approaching, and we'll get into all of it. But, I mean, really sensational year. I'm super excited for looking at the future. Well, Matt, thank you so much for coming on, man. This has been a lot of fun.
Of course. I mean, if you want to do another draft show, I'm still early in the draft thing, so I just take some of what I said with a salt. Like, I have not watched nearly everybody. I can't even find games on everybody. That's been a problem. I've been looking for a Washington State game for like 3 days, and I can't find it. But yeah, thanks.
I might have to give you my Synergy login, and you can.
Oh, please! Actually, yes, dude.
Yeah, we'll have to do that. We'll have to do that for sure. But all right, that's gonna wrap up the show for today. Thank you guys so much for listening, watching, wherever you're at, and we'll be back at you guys soon. Peace.